over it. Basically, first for two reasons. Number one, because we didn't do the Rashbam, which is a good reason to go over it. So we need to get. And number two, also those who missed it then can also not be afraid that we're going to sort of jump into the middle of something here. What we're trying to clarify is very simple. We are trying to work out whether, when a Beis Din, a Chayzer, when a Beis Din changed their minds, they retract from a statement. Does that mean that they are have to be concerned about PR? So they have to be worried. We have to write Zilusa de Beidina. It's more than PR. Zilusa de Beidina. People won't treat Beis Din seriously if they find them retracting from what they said originally, right? Rav Nachman was very clear. And Rav Nachman is generally the halachas like Rav Nachman, as we've mentioned many times. Halachas like Rav Nachman Bedini. When we have a choshim mishpot shaila, we paskin like Rav Nachman. And Rav Nachman says, "Anon achtin, anon maskinun." You know, we had this scenario that we were talking about, which was a dispute over a field. So we gave it to one guy. Then the other guy came up with the same evidence that the first one had. So Rav Nachman said, okay, we gave it to him, we'll take it away from him now. How we sort it out is a different question, right? Because they're both equal now. But the point is we don't stick with what we said before if new evidence comes to light. Rav Nachman was challenged on this, and Rav Nachman said, and then Rav Nachman stuck to what he said to his psak, even though he was challenged on it. And he said, the reason why I'm sticking to it is because I've got big support from serious heavyweights in a Tanaitic sense. Right, as in I've got serious tanoim that back me up and that don't that I can use for support here. And this was based on a Mishnah. The Mishnah discusses whether you can be ma'ale lekahuna al pi eid echod. Can you be bring someone to the kahuna based on one aid? There is a machlokas here between Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel. Although there are three mentioned, Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Elazar, and Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, Rabbi Elazar is explaining Rabbi Yehuda. So they're a team. Rabbi Elazar and Rabbi Yehuda on one side, so to speak, right? Rabbi Shimon Gamliel on the other side. And it's not clear what the debate is, because Rabbi Elazar says that when is it you can rely on one person saying that someone's a Kohen? Yeah? Only when there aren't two Eidim saying that he's not. But if you've got two Eidim, which is what we call Orerin, people who are ma'arer, or they always raise a question, and we explain that means Eidim. If two Eidim come along and say this guy is not a Kohen, one Eid is not going to help you to say he is, because the Eid was used. That's what Rabbi Elazar says. And Rabbi Shmuel then says, right, you can bring to the Kuna based on one Eid. Now, obviously, when he says you can, obviously that doesn't mean you can when there's two Eid, right? So what's the debate? The Gemora says you can't say the debate is whether one or two Eidim can cause an error, can cause a question mark through Eidus over someone's status as a Kohen, because it's clear. Rabbi Yochanan says it's clear that ein era pachos mishnayim. When it comes to a serious complaint about someone who's a Kohen, whether he's not a Kohen, I don't mean a rumor. People coming along and saying this guy is not a Kohen, you have to have two. You need two Eidim. Two Eidim. Yeah, you have to do two Eidim. And therefore that can't be the debate. Rather, the debate must be something totally different. And to understand what it is, what the machlokas is, we say that the case of the Brisa is the following case. 3 lines down in the Gemora, we said the case is on Beis Amud Aleph. 3 lines down on Beis Amud Aleph. The case is, and we're going to do this now with the Rashbam. We did it last time, just the Gemara without the Rashbam. We have a chazaka that this guy is a kohen, right? Chazaka, great. And then there's a koil. Now, koil is not an error; it's a rumor. Koil, it's a noise, right? There's a rumor that he's not a kohen. Because there was a rumor that he wasn't a kohen. So we put him on the sidelines, like he's on the touchline. He's not yet. We haven't demoted him completely. We just, we're worried. Obviously, we've got to investigate now. Yeah. And then one aide come along and said, no, this guy's a Kohen. So Vaskine, so we put him back in. Now we're happy that he can be a Kohen again, because he got one aid. One aid is good. Remember, when there's no aidus against someone, one aid is great. Fine, one aid testified guy's a Kohen, we're happy. But also, now this guy's in serious problem, because now I've got two aidim who came along and said subsequently that he's the son of a gerusha or a chalutza, which makes him a cholol. Yeah, makes him a cholol. He's disqualified. Pardon? There was no yibum of kohanim.
He's a child.
Well, no, it was a child of a chalutza. So you can have yibum with kohen. The kohen can perform yibum. How would you mean? A kohen's wife, if a kohen dies, so his wife can still perform yibum or become a chalutza. But it's just that she's then got the status of a gerusha. It's midrabanan, if I remember correctly. Chalutza, gerusha is deraisa, chalutza is nothing midrabanan. So what do you mean? No, but that's okay. That doesn't disqualify him. Doing chalitza doesn't disqualify him. Yeah? It's an important point that he's saying. It's not that the act of chalitza disqualifies the kohen for being a kohen. No, that's fine. It means that ben chalutza, the woman he performs chalitza to, okay, she has the halachic status, at least midrabanan, of a gerusha, the same effect. So she is now apostle kohen. As the Beis Din say to everyone who receives a get, they say it's okay because like 90% you can marry. So it's there's still a lot of people out there.
But that part of being different, I mean, you receive chalitza and you said it would have to be
fun.
No, you have to.
Why can't I do your bidding? She's not divorcee. By death, he died. So she's not divorcee. She died. Her husband died. Her husband died. Yeah. That's fine. A Kohen Gadol is a problem.
What's the problem?
The father's a Kohen Gadol because the Kohen Gadol has to marry a basula, and Almona is possible a Kohen Gadol. That's all the convoluted case. So I'm giving nightmares to Daf Yomi. The convoluted cases. Yeshla Ach Kohen Gadol, or who's a Kohen Gadol? Right, he's a Kohen Gadol. Yeah, that's right. Right, all those convoluted cases. Now, so this guy comes. Now we establish he's a Ben Gosh Mechel. So now we take Lachtine. Now we remove him properly because now we've got Edus against him. But I'll say and then another aid comes along and says he is a Kohen. He's a Kohen. Okay, so that's the scenario. The scenario is that you have one aid that says he's a kosher Kohen. That aid came along on Monday. On Tuesday, two aidim came along together and said this guy is possible. He's a Ben Gurusha. And then on Wednesday, another aid came along and said he's kosher. That's the story. Okay. Now, how that works and fits in, we'll see in a second. Let's just see the Rashbam on that. You understand the case? No. The koil was originally. Right, the Rashbam is going to explain to us why we have why the koil is relevant. Right. But why we'll see why that's Rashbam explains why that's relevant. Look at the Rashbam. The Notfagale kola, third line down. Koil ba'alma v'lo edus. Just a rumor, no edus. We removed him from the kuna ad shiv to davar until it's investigated. Shemalehi bekuna. Lamed beis amad aleph. Yeah. Shemalehi bekuna. Why? Because there's a special. Always very careful with kohanim. We're completely disproportionately outnumbered the number of kohanim. A third of our group are kohanim, which is not so. Yeah, Shemali b'kunas. They like to protect the kohanim. Always like to protect their status. Shemali b'kunas. We're very careful about kohanim, and therefore, even though there's only a rumor, we put him on the sideline just to investigation when there's a rumor. This is all he says. The Rashbam says really an extra lashon. This is in the Gemora. It's not really necessary. To below kol, even without rumor, nami misukma shmaitza shaper. You can still understand the case very well. Be'ed echod machshemei kara. You had one aid testifying on his behalf originally that he was kosher. Ve'ed echod basof, and one aid at the end. Ushnaim aidim orim bein time, and two aidim questioning or saying he's not. Kind of a farish for Ozil, as in the middle, as I was going to explain. Why these two aidim have to be separated, we'll get to that, right? But just to understand the case, why is it we talk about a rumor at the beginning? It's just a practical reason. Well, exactly. Exactly. That's what Rashbam says. This is why it talks about a case where there was a rumor to boil a meima, because it wants to say one aid came along and said he's a proper kohen. We put him back as a kohen, and we reinstate him. Why would an aid come along and be machshir him unless there's a reason to disqualify him beforehand? Simple as that. You're not going to, unless there's a rumor, you're not going to start bringing in aidus. Someone walks into shul and says to Avromi, they're a kohen. Does Avromi need an aid to say, who says, I need another aid in shul? Of course not, right? Avromi's going to give him an aliyah as a kohen. He's delighted. Is that right, Avromi?
There was a rumor.
Well, no, because
I came along and said that guy's not a kohen. Yeah.
So that's an interesting shaila because the question is, I don't know. I say what's under it because here we say it's a mala bekuna, but that might be only with like let's say the avoid in the Beis Hamikdash or receiving truma. In other words, would we take note of a curl just in terms of the covet we give to a kohen, right? It could well be not, unless you have serious reason to believe it, right? I mentioned last week that when it comes to marriage purposes, of course, it's very important to establish it, whether for positive or negative, whether what they're people they're allowed to marry or to get it right on the ksuba and everything else, and for future generations. And there are definitely cases, I've seen it in the records, historical cases where it's marked down on the record. It could not be verified that whether this person was a kohen or a Levi. They claim to be. They claim there's evidence. There's not. There was even one case which was remarkable where the couple when they came to get married, they presented a tshuva written for their family by the Spanish and Portuguese. I mean, quite a recent tshuva. So it wasn't an ancient document. It was recently researched, but they actually came along holding this pages and pages, a real tshuva written by the Dayanim of the Spanish and Portuguese congregation of British Jews, basically certifying that their grandfather was a Levi. That they'd researched it. They looked. There was matzevas and there was all sorts of. They put together a picture and they paskin he was a Levi. Now, being a Levi is not so. You don't get. But for the ksuba, it's important. Because is he a Levi or not? On the ksuba, you want to get it right, But they actually came with this Hebrew tshuva for their family, written for their family. That's quite unusual. Anyway, so that was an interesting case. But this is the scenario. Askine, says the Rashbam, so we put him back in. Because in place of a coil, one aid is believed. So that's what happened at the first stage. But then we shifted him off properly to echad mokom shnayim ein dvar of klum. Okay, because one aid against two is nothing, right? Ein dvar of klum. So in other words, the second time we take him down, the first time we took him down because of a rumor. Second time we take him down, serious problem because now it's removing because we've got two aidim. But he then has this knight in shining armor. Another aid comes along at the end. The Oman says the kohen gomerhu. He is a proper kohen. And you've got two Eidim being machsher. You've got two Eidim being machsher.
What is the source to allow one Eid to suffice?
What, with the kohen?
Yeah, is it tefana?
No, it's an interesting. That's a good question. The Gemora doesn't. The Gemora doesn't say. So it doesn't say specifically why it is. I mean, really no. So really, the point is like this. The point is like this: that if it's just a rumor, then an aid is enough. Okay. Yeah, that's it. That's the point. In other words, it really must be. You don't. Exactly what you're asking. In other words, it's not really. You don't really need full-blown aidus, because in any case, when you did need full-blown aidus, such as when you have Eidim saying he's not a Kohen, then one aid is not good enough. So you can be mal lekuna pi aid echad. In other words, one aid will defeat a kol, a rumor, because it's just a rumor. That's the point, right? Because it's just a rumor. Yeah. Now, okay, so that's the scenario. How does it work? What is the machlok? It says, let's now go back to the Gemara and then we'll see the Rashbam. But the Kule Alma, right? The Kule Alma, with star for aidus. According to everyone, you can join together aidus. That means to say, one aid comes on Monday and one aid comes on Wednesday. You can put them together and make a pair out of them. Yeah? So that's not an issue. But everyone says that's fine, says the Gemara. So if so, what's the machlokas? What's the machlokas between Rabbi Lozo and Rav Shimon Gamliel, right? So the Gemara says like this. And here, the whole machlokas is, are we worried about ziluso de Beit Dina? Are we worried about the cheapening of Beis Din? Are we worried about the way it's going to look, the impact on Beis Din? Okay. Since we've taken him down, we can't put him back up. Once you've removed him because of the two Eidim, not the original time, because that wasn't a proper thing, that was just waiting and seeing, yeah? But once you've removed him because the two Eidim say he's possible, you can't put him back in. You can't reinstate him now because it looks ridiculous. It's going to look like Beis Din cheapens the whole setup of Beis Din. You remove someone, put it back in. He is a Kohen, he's not a Kohen, right? No good. Just like Rav Nachman, yeah? We take him down, we put him back up. We don't take into account what it looks like in terms of Beis Din. Beis Din's reputation suffers a knock. Okay, so what? You've got to do the right thing. Yeah, that's right. That's Rav Nachman's psak. That's the halacha, by the way. I said halacha, which you sound relieved about, but yeah, the halacha is like Rav Nachman, right? So right, but we need to understand exactly what it is. Anyway, this is the machlokes. Now the question is, how do you fit that into the phraseology that they use, right? Rabbi Loza, how do you fit this into the words? So that's what Rosh Hashanah is going to deal with. It's all very well saying that the machlokes is on this point, but how do you fit it into the words? And also, by the way, clearly this is not the end of the story, because Rav Nachman said, I stand by my psak because these great people all support me. Well, they don't. At the moment, half do and half don't. All right, one does, one doesn't. One is worried about it, one isn't. So that's not. We're going to get to that, right? But at this stage, the Gemora suggests that this is the machlokes. Now, have a look at the Rashbam. Yeah. Yes, you do.
So how do you know which is right? Why are we insane?
So why would you? So okay. So 1 second. So the simple answer is because of chazaka. Because of chazaka. So you've got 2 against 2, right? You're 2 against 2, and you've got a chazaka. This guy's a Kohen. His father was a Kohen, and his grandfather was a Kohen, and his great grandfather was a Kohen. He's always been a Kohen. He always knew he was a Kohen. How do you know anyone's a Kohen?
And then there's a cult that said he wasn't.
Yeah.
And then
there's
there's
a rumor.
one that says he was.
Yeah. And now you've got 2 Edom against 2.
2 Edom that say he's not.
Yeah, but 2 Edom say he is. So it's 2 against 2. So how are you going to solve it? You need to look elsewhere. We've got to decide whether he's a Kohen. Either he is or he isn't. Why should you go with it? Yeah. So the chazaka. This is what Toras says. This. It could be the Rashbam sets it out as well. Rashbam is going to set this out as well. But the basic answer is because you have 2 against 2, they knock each other out, and you go with chazaka. And we've got chazaka that this guy's father was a Kohen, so he's okay. Yeah, chazaka is a very important factor in halacha. Chazaka can't be Edom, but the Edom are not useful here in that sense, right? Let's see the Rashbam. So the Rashbam says, yeah, again about a quarter of the way down. Vos, a bit less than that, but right. Udukuli alma. Bein Rabbi Elazar, bein Rabbi Shmuel, Metzarfin Edom Hameidim Shaloi B'fnei Zeh B'Shari Dios. Both agree you can join together Edom who testify not in front of the other with other Eidos. So that's not up for debate. It's not a problem. That one testifies on Monday and one on Wednesday. And here as well, Yesh Lonu L'Tzarif Min Adin. According to the letter of the law, we should be able to join together Eid Rishon, Eid Achron, Hamachshirin. The first aid and the second aid, the one that comes at the end, were machshir. We should be able to machshir this Kohen because of chazaka, right? If not for the fact that it looks terrible for Beis Din. Now, how does that fit in? Since we took him down, I'll be base Orin through 2 people who were saying he's not a Kohen, and we took him down like in din, like the halacha was the b'chol mokum ha'emino Torah shnayim. In every situation, the Torah believes 2 Edom. It was the right thing to do to remove him here too at that point, right before the other guy came. We can't then put him back in through this one aid who comes at the end. Even though, as we've just said, there's no issue with joining him together with the aid who came originally, and therefore the result will be that this Kohen will be kosher, because da'oki trey lebahadi trey, because you're going to have 2 against 2, they cancel each other out. Da'oki gabra chazoke, and the man goes with his chazaka that he was a Kohen. Chazaka the kashrus kamaisa is original chazaka of kashrus. Chazaka the kashrus to have a muchsaglon ba'avur the Kohenu, that we had a chazaka that his father was a Kohen. The Gam adds another interesting detail. So there's 2 reasons. It's interesting that Rashbam adds this. There's 2 reasons that he will end up in a good place and he will end up okay with his kahuna. Number 1, his father was a Kohen. So forget these 2 aids will contradict each other. Go with chazaka. It's like chazaka komaisa. All the way through the parent, we talk about chazaka komaisa. Where's your starting point? What's your original chazaka? Who used to own the field? Where did you start from? You started from somewhere, and your original chazaka was that this guy's a Kohen. He's always had Kohen. He's always been called up as a Kohen, right? So why'd you? Number 2, we also machshir him originally, according based on 1 aid before people questioned him. So the Rashbam seems to imply that that's another reason when they cancel each other out to sort of go with it's almost like helps the original chazaka. The first person on the playing field was a Basra. What was that? But that Kol has been defeated. That Kol was defeated by the first serious aid, by the first serious aidus. That Kol was defeated by the first serious aidus.
It's in collective way, so to show the time.
Yeah. You put the two, you put all the things together. Yeah. The Kol is, yeah, that's true. Yeah, the Kol has been disregarded. We shouldn't get caught up with the Kol. That's the point. Yeah. Yeah, it seems to be, although it's I've just got to notice if there's something in the run, and Nadorim talks about this, but it still seems it seems difficult to understand why that should be a factor. The original aid, the fact that the aid came first, why should that give, why should that why should that make a difference? How can one aid originate, like establish a chazaka? Yeah. I don't know. Anyway, that's what some seems to imply that also helps the picture somewhat. Anyway, the bottom line is these Rashbams. It was right, the way you learn a Rashbam is not like Rashi. I've said this before. You've got to learn straight through. It's long. The text is much. He spells it out much longer than Rashi. It was like one sentence. This whole Rashbam, right? But what he's basically saying is that that we did the right thing. We did the right thing, and it was clear that we were required to remove him from his status of kohana. Therefore, even though there is a logical reason, and according to the strict letter of the law, we should be able to reinstate him as a kohen because the weight is stronger on that side of things because of the chazaka and everything else. It doesn't matter. We're worried about zilusa de beit dino. Look at the next Rashbam. The chashina zilusa de beit dino. What is the zilusa de beit dino? What is the cheapening of beis din? Shehuridu al pi orin. They removed him because of the question marks over him, but Achshov, and now, I'm just going to do this with the Bach, Ya'aluhu, right? V'yivatlu Divreim. They're going to put him back in, and they're going to nullify their words. They're going to retract their words. Now we've got to fit it into how this works in Rabbi Elazar's language, right?
Well, that's how this comes to calling the question based in.
Why?
We discussed last week. When you have Adam James, no problem saying yes to work.
Because the Torah says it.
This is the Rabbanon.
Don't do that. No, the Torah says you've got to believe. The Torah says the second Adam are believed. So what don't do it. You're following the halacha. Don't do it, Rabbanon. This is a different situation. This is a situation where you have a scenario where if based in come along and they change their minds, right, from a psak that was given correctly, okay, and they now say, actually, we're changing our mind because of something else has come to light, there will be a zilusa de beit dino. And therefore, we're not going to reinstate him because the concern, the overriding policy issue, it's a policy issue, right? Basically, yeah, it's an overriding policy problem, right? That beats the ability or the right of this individual to retain and regain his kuna status. Let's see the Rashbam first and see if it helps. Let's see what Rashbam says. This is what Rabbi Elazar is saying, fitting into words of Rabbi Elazar. When can you not put a person back based on one aid who comes at the end? That's bisman sheyesh olav orerin. That is only at the time when there are orerin. There are people who question. Who is that? Not question. Say he's possible. Shnayim haposner so. Two aidim who say it's possible. Hilkoch lo mahani aid sheni habol asok lach shiroi. The second aid who comes at the end doesn't help to machshe him. Let's start with morishan machshe to join together with the first one who is machshe. The apple gav the ikalamema okitre machshe mahadi tre poslin. Even though logically what we should say is it's 2 against 2, 2 machshirin, 2 poslin. V'oki gavra chazoke, and he should have his chazaka. Be kosher. He should be on his chazaka as a kohen. He should be kosher. Even so, lo maskinun. We don't put it back in mishum zilusa de beit dina because of the cheapening of beis din. Now he's going to answer the question that you're thinking of, maybe, which is, okay, I understand, or maybe not. We're trying to get our head around it. It's not so easy to understand the idea of zilusa de beit dina, but for the moment, we're going to accept it. We are accepting it. We're accepting the concept. Again, Rav Nachman doesn't hold of it. Others don't hold it. Those who do hold of it say, you can't do this. You can't do this. People are going to say based on don't know what they're doing, and that is an overriding issue which we have to take account of. And in certain cases, and we said it clearly not going to apply in every case. We have to know when it have to understand when it would exactly apply. Here it applies. This guy is not going to be put back into Kona. Problem is we originally did something which also should cause Zilus of Beidina. Because what did we do originally in the first stage? Yeah, we took him down because we had a rumor and put him back in again. Says the Rashbam, no. That which we put him back in originally, based on 1/8, who destroyed the rumor, that wasn't any cheapening of based in. Because that which we took him down, was just because there was a rumor. They took him down in order to reinstate him following investigation, following pending. This happens in the court of law all the time, right? In any legal system, this happens all the time, you know. Someone is suspended pending bail, pending sentence, or whatever, not pending sentence, pending bail, right? One second, let me finish, Jeremy. Let me finish. Yeah? Investigation, right? Okay, investigation. Right? Well, all right. Therefore, when they put him back in, there's no cheapening of based on. When you take him down, they took him down through Adim, we took him down through, they based on that was the din, that was the halacha. When you put him back in again, it will cheapen based on when they put him back into reinstatement. I just want to see, I want to see what he says here. Now, this is the Yaz HaShachar was written by Rabbi Birnbaum. Let's understand a little bit about this thing that we're struggling with, this concept of Zilus of the Beidina, right? What is the scope? How does it apply? Let's just see a little bit of what he says here. Yesh la'ayin, he says, Zilus of the Beidina, right? It's clear that you won't say we're worried about Beis Din's reputation if it's clear that the land belongs to the second guy. Remember, coming back to our case, yeah, right? Obviously not.
There's a clear miscarriage of justice.
Exactly. There's a clear miscarriage of justice, right? That you said someone's guilty and then evidence turns up, there's innocent. Did you see there was a case in America this week, I think. Did you hear about that? Yeah. 38 years this guy sat in prison. Innocent. 38 years. What a terrible thing. Miscarriage of justice. That's he mentioned specifically. Okay, right? Eidim Zomin. If one group of found Eidim Zomin, of course we change everything around. Toras says you have to do that, right? It's obvious. Elo the Zilus of the Beidina, the concept of cheapening based in Shaykh Rak Bedinim Shemekoyach Sofek. It only applies in cases where there is a psak which arises because there is a doubt. There's a doubt to based in as to what to do. Okay. Therefore, okay. Sorry, the gum, zechias hamuchzak given the eino boror vata. It's a very specific criteria to be concerned about zilusa de beidina. It has to be a sofek, right? Where we've got a doubt what to do, and together with the doubt, we have the halachic principles would tell us to go after chazaka because of the doubt. Given the eino boror. Given the eino bir, we can't verify it. Given the eino boror vada, right? So he says like this: Given the eino bir vada, ilocheno yashayich al zeh loymar hadin mishum mishum zilus de beidina loymajin ovda. That's when we can say that the principle of zilus de beidina also has an effect, or does have an effect potentially, on the way we judge the case, because it's anyway a case of doubt where we would normally have said, right, we're going to roll back the whole thing and we're going to say, we're going to shift the psak from A to B because of the chazaka, this guy's got a cheskas kuana, okay, right? And that is something which we are not going to do. Or, for example, and that's something we're not going to do if it's going to lead to a cheapening of Beis Din. All right, and there's a chazaka here. The chazaka here would have been the guy's originally cheskas kuna, and in the other case, in the field case, when they also cancel, same thing. They've got a suffix, they cancel each other out, and we would go with presumably other evidence to let's say change the psak or whatever, or to do you'd shift it into the field of kol da'alim gvar, as we said, where whoever's stronger wins, whatever that means, whether that's literally or whether it means proofs. There's a sugya later on about that, right? That's the case when zilusud de beidina applies. 1 minute. He says that time zilusud de beidina lo yoel lahata. Listen first. Yeah, that time zilusud de beidina lo yoel lahata isu Torah. The time of zilusud de beidina is not going to help to be matir and isu Torah. You never use zilusud de beidina to permit something which is osum in Torah. Afilo mo isu midin sofek. Even if the isu was only because of a doubt, right? Okay, so he says I'm not going to go through all of it, but he says, for example, he talks about he goes into other cases here about 2 against 2. I think he's going into a tosis or whatever. The idea he's saying is that it's clear we would never say that because of zilusa de beidina, because of the reputation of Beis Din, we would allow the potential for someone to be over an issa. And neither case that we've looked at here has that effect. This guy may not be able to serve as a kohen. He may not be able to eat shumah. He may not be able to do some mikdash, right? Or the field may not go. We may not remove the field and the suffix in the case of suffix and sort of like let someone else get it. But it's not going to permit an issa Torah. You understand? That's what he says. We've narrowed it down. Jeremy, what was your question?
Is the problem with the fact that they're taking them down from a room? And some have filed a formal complaint, or the formality of the Basin and saying, "Hi, we think Mr. X is not a poet in years." But then you could argue that there's nothing of the Basin is called into question by its own actions or actually something from noise. No,
but it's nothing to do with the rumor. The rumor doesn't affect the debate. Only the fact that no. The suspension is because that's a normal thing. That's a normal procedural way for Beis Din to operate.
But what are they working on?
It doesn't matter. Beis Din, it's no different. Beis Din operate on the basis of the fact that, as Rashbam said earlier, there's a milo bikuna. When it comes to kuna, we're very careful. We make sure that everyone is okay as 100%, right? Because of that, if we have a rumor, we've got to investigate it. So we just pause him from his kuna work, right? Status of kuna until we've investigated the rumor. Nothing to do with Zilusud de Beidina. Zilusud de Beidina only arises where we have done something up he did.
What about if it goes another way around? What happens if the final eight is not the one who establishes that he isn't? In other words, that you're making someone who's a non-code through the virtue of a testimony, and therefore potentially leading to a non-Cohen eating.
You made someone into a Cohen, you mean?
Yes, in other words, that the first, the final aid, she said he is a Cohen, he is kosher.
Yeah, that's what he did say.
Yeah, no, I'm supposing, I'm trying to work out a scenario where, as you said, there will never be an issue of a Torah which would come in this situation.
No, so
supposing the Torah is instated.
So again, okay, so we haven't looked at the other side. Again, according to the Man Omer who says we're choshesh lezilusa de beidina, right? We're worried about zilusa de beidina. It's not going to be mater nisa Torah, because the effect here of zilusa de beidina, of taking zilusa de beidina into account, means that this guy is not a kohen. So in other words, it doesn't have that ramification there, right? He's not a kohen. He doesn't get to eat truma, right? Now you wanted to, if you want to try and, I don't see how would it work the other way around? Because again, you're
risky.
Yeah, you're never going to have that because it doesn't make a difference which order they come in. That's not the point. The point is that Chazaka tells you he should be a kohen. Zilusud de Beidina says, but we've already passed in one way, so we're not going to change it. So I don't know how you're going to have.
Yeah, it's no, it's like he said, you know what? You're actually a kohen.
That's right. The last month of the election.
And then you put ourselves, but that's
You need,
done like,
and you need a dechad as well. You'd have to be an a dechad, not just I've heard you're a kohen. You have to know you are. If you have an a dechad that someone's a kohen, that's good enough. That's good enough for those who believe it.
So he comes and say, I'm a Kohen. Two people come along and say, no, he's not. I've never seen him. Then someone else comes along. Sorry?
Another two come along.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, he has, and this is again, we don't have to go through this, I want to finish Rosh Hashanah on this, but basically he has a long piece on this, and he talks about different scenarios and cases when this could be relevant. For example, he says, let's say you have Cheskas Morakama. Cheskas Morakama is very powerful. I have a Chazaka that was the original owner. He says, is it possible to say, okay, and he brings that the Achronim say that the strength of Chesed Morakam is very powerful. It's not just muhsuk, it's more than that. Maybe is it possible to come along with an argument of Zilus de Beidina and cause the Morakama to lose out, the original owner to lose out, right? He did he's got a doubt about that. He talks about this again. It's a long piece, but at least we've got a little bit more of a handle on what we're talking about here. Now we said the other man Omar disagrees. Who's the other man Omar? Well, it's Rav Nachman earlier on, but here, now according to what we're saying in the Gemara, is Rav Shimon Gamliel. Says the next Rashbam, but non maskin on lay. We put him back in. The Ikasha trainer no, but my maskin on lay. If you're going to ask, it's 2 against 2, so why should we put him back in? But Sophic, it's a doubt. Tritz, your answer, Oki Chela Tray, the Oki Mechazaka Komaisa. See Rashi, if it was Rashi, that's not Rasham is much longer winded than Rashi. Rashi probably wouldn't have said this, he said it already. Right? The Rasham spells it out for you again. He wants to be very clear, so that's his derech, right? So you're going to ask, it's 2 against 2, my maskin on lay. Why'd you put it back in? For obvious suffix, it's a doubt. Tritz, your answer, Oki Shiradi Trey, you put 2 against 2, and you put him with his original chazaka, Daskua P8 Rishon, you put him in on the basis of the original aid, okay? Shohaya Neman, who was believed, to Hakati Ein Orin, to Koilav Orin. Because because we put him back al P8, we originally instated him based on the first aid, who was believed, right? So Hakati Ein Orin, because there were no question marks to Kolav Orin, who, because although there was a rumor, the rumor is discounted. Here the Rashbam goes further than what he said before. And he specifically says, you got 2 against 2, you got 2 against 2, and the Chazaka Komaisa was what? There was a Kohen. Yes, there was a Kohen. And what is the Chazaka Komaisa? Doesn't say that his father was a Kohen. He says that we had an original aid who was believed. Why? Because no one else is questioning it yet. That's what the Rashbam says. That's what the Rashbam says. Post rumor. The rumor is not. The rumor is the rumor, but the rumor is discounted. The rumor is discounted, and yeah, and that's how it works. What do you mean?
So I kind of get the impression when you first got the Rashbam that because the first time there's a rumor, the original aiders can be mixed to the second aiders because it hasn't been used.
The original aiders. Why would it hasn't been used? Yeah.
And he's a Kohen. If he was going against the con,
yeah,
then you would say, right, he's like used up. I can't use him anymore. But because the con isn't something that aided.
Right. Okay. It could be. So. Yeah. 1 second. Yeah. It could be something like that. I mean, here the Shittim Mokbes brings in the Shem Rabbeinu Yonah that the coil doesn't help those who disqualify him. It doesn't assist them at all. Because once you have 2 aidim who are machshir, then the coil doesn't assist the other side. It's irrelevant, right? It's irrelevant, right? And he says the logic is simple. Let's say you have, instead of the coil, 2 aidim. So you got 4 against 2 aidim. 4 aidim saying it's possible and 2 aidim saying it's kosher. Does that make a difference in terms of the scales?
No.
Of course not. Trey Kameya. Makes no difference. Once you've got 2 aidim, it's irrelevant. Have 100 aidim. The rumor can't be better than 99 aidim there standing, saying he's possible, right? Whatever rumor you've got is not going to make a difference. So the rumor goes out the window. It's what you're saying. The rumor is irrelevant. And because the rumor is irrelevant, okay, because of that, That's why you're left with, when you've discounted all the edus, you're left with this chazaka. Okay? Because even though he says like this, he says, even though we said it doesn't matter how many more edim you bring, you don't build up your strength based on more edim. He says the following words: "She'ein koach chazaka gedola mitoras edus." It's not. You're not going down the track of edus, right? It's a different track. It's a different quality. Exactly. You know, you're bringing in a different feature, chazaka, right? And that's why whatever chazaka you can introduce, and again, the Rashbam is a bit of a chiddush here because he mentions chazkas avos. They have a chazaka. This guy's father was a kohen, but he seems to be saying even if you don't, there's still an original chazaka created because of the fact that this first aid showed up first, right? But he created a chazaka komaisa, an original chazaka. This guy was a kohen, either because his dad was a kohen, or even if he didn't know his dad was a kohen, one aid testified that he was a kohen, so he's got a chazaka that he was a kohen. And chazaka is a different weapon, if you know what I mean, in terms of like trying to add to your arsenal to strengthen your case for being a kohen. I think that's what he means. It's not coming from the Toras Edus, that's what he says. Says, let's carry on the Rashbam. Now, the Gemora has now said, okay, that's the machlokas, and that's how it fits in, and that's what Shmuel Gamliel says. You can be that means to say what? The one aid who comes at the end is enough to make him stay as a kohen, even though it's 2 against 2, because you go on the base of original chazaka, right? Says the Gemara. Let's look at the Gemara again. If so, my area chad afilu betray nami. Sorry, now see the Rashbam. Rashbam explains this. If so, Rabbi Elazar chayish lezilusu de beidino. If Rabbi Elazar is worried about the cheapening of Beis Din, my area aid abola basof. Why is it only one aid that comes at the end? To hossum ein malin mishum zilusa. That we're saying that you can't put him back in because we're worried of the cheapening of Beis Din. Kediktani masnisin ein malin apiyed echad bisman sheyesh alav orin. Right? You can't be mala on the basis of bring up on the basis of one aid when there are another two are questioning it. Malin. The implication is, right? The implication is that if there were 2 aidim who came along at the end, you could put him back, you could reinstate him. Okay? Even if 2 aidim came at the end, right? You wouldn't reinstate him the second time because of Zilus de Beidina. So if Rabbi Elazar was worried about Zilus de Beidina, it doesn't fit in what he says. If you go back to what he says, look at Lamed Aleph on the base at the bottom. Omer Rabbi Elazar, Mosai, about 5 lines up. Can you see? Mosai, when is this? Mokum Sheish Orin. Av Mokum Shein Orin. When there isn't 2 aidim saying he's possible. Malin Nikuna Piedechol. You can put it back as a kohen. You'll be bringing it back as a kohen. Al P. And we're saying now that what, according to the way we explained it in the case now, Rabbi Elazar is saying that where there is orin, where there are 2 aidim saying is possible, you cannot be mala al pied echad. You cannot listen to that one aid who comes on the land and says that he's kosher. You can't join him with the first aid. Says the Gemara, if it's all to do with the way and the reputation of Beis Din, then it's nothing to do with one aid coming at the end. Even if 2 aidim came at the end, you still wouldn't put it back in. You understand? Because there's the Lusa de Beidina. So that it doesn't make sense what he's saying. It doesn't make. It's nothing to do with how many aidim come at the end. It could be 1, 2, 3, 4. It's a different problem. It's a policy issue. It's a cheapening of Beis Din issue, right? So therefore, Rav Ashi says, right? Ela Omar Rav Ashi, right? You got it? Yeah. I mean,
it doesn't say with the word fit. You can see it.
Look at what Rabbi Elazar says.
But the number we had on that in my
Yeah.
And Rabbi Elazar, when that is Makom Sheyesh Orin, which is 2 aidim. About Makom She'ein Orin,
Yeah, that's fine. That's fine. Meaning, remember, we've got to understand it based on the case.
Yeah.
The case is 1 aid, then 2, then 1, right? So when is he saying Malin Nakano Pied Echad? When there were those 2 didn't exist.
Yeah.
Fine. We're going more on the first half of what he says. The first half of what he says is, when is it that Rabbi Yehuda says you can't be Mala Pied Echad? He's explaining Rabbi Yehuda. When can you not be Ma'ala Pi Eid Echad? When you have two Eidim saying it's possible. Says the Gemora, if it's to do with the cheapening of Beis Din, it's not to do with you can't be Ma'ala Pi Eid Echad, you can't be Ma'ala Pi 100 Eidim because you've taken him down. And you have to worry about Zilus de Beidina. Right? Ma'ir Echad, if you train out. Right? So it doesn't fit with what he says. Look at the Gemara now. Ela Omar Ravashi, rather Ravashi says, the Kuli Alma, according to everyone, we're not worried about Zilus Beidina. No one is worried about Zilus Beidina. And this was Rav Nachman's support. Because everyone here must hold that Zilus Beidina, the cheapening of Beis Din, is not a concern. What is the machlokas then? The whole machlokas was about this point. Can you join together Eid on Monday and Eid on Wednesday? Right? Look at the Rashbam. Sorry, I'm jumping a bit, but just to be clear on it. You got it? These are the great trees that Rav Nachman was supported by. According to Rav Loza, you can't join together the second A with the first one. Right? Since they didn't testify at the same time. We'll see that machlokes in a minute. Like the Rabbanon who argue with Rav Nosson on this very point. If they both came at the same time, sure, we would have put him back. We would have said, yes, you're a Kohen again, you got a Chazaka, like we said, you go with Chazaka. We had a Chazaka, this guy's father was a Kohen, and we're not worried about the cheapening of Beis Din. Rabbi Shimon Gamliel Rav Nosson, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel who says what? Who says that you can join together two Eidim. He says the words Malin Nikuna Piedachod. That means to say, you can join together Eid on Monday and Eid on Wednesday, and that's the machlokas. That is the machlokas. It's very straightforward now, right? It's very simple. Everyone, the case is the same as we said, with the one Eid and the two and the one, right? No one's worried about what it looks like for Beis Din's reputation. Why is it that they have? What is the machlokas? The machlokas is simply, can I join together Eid on Monday or Eid on Wednesday? The Tanakama says, meaning Rabbi Loza explaining Rabbi Yehuda, says that you cannot, and that's why he says, Ein Malin Lakuna Pe'edechod, which Rabbi Loza explains the scenario is because there were two Eidim in the middle and there was one on Monday and one on Wednesday. You can't join together Monday and Wednesday because you can't join together Eidos from on two different occasions and make them into a pair. And Rabbi Shimon says you can, right? Shimon Gamliel. What is that based on? Says the Gemara. Let's finish it off. It's the machlokes of these Tanoim. The sign of the Brisa says as follows. Now, the first machlokes is not relevant to us. The Gemara just brings it, by the way. It's very famous machlokes. Tanakama says you can't makas, yeah. You can't join together eidos beginning of makas until they both see at the same time, yeah. Rabbi Lushum and Kor Chaim, even if they see one sees one sees the next day. This is our machlokes. The eidos cannot be fulfilled in Beis Din. They both testify at the same time. You can listen to one person today, and the next tomorrow you listen to the other guy. Says the Rashbam. Dahani Tanoi, Rabbi Nosson, V'Rabbanon. The sign of the Bride says, "Ein idusum mitzarefes, ein sorich kan b'hai machlokas." The Rishon Koch Rabbanon. We don't need here this machlokas from Koch and the Rabbanon. It's not relevant to us. Lakachi Brisa Shlem B'Shli Zebura. This is the whole Brisa in Sanhedrin. Okay, Perek Zebura. Mishum Grora the Sefer Nokat Ratio. We just bring the beginning bit because the latter bit. Yeah.
We say this because the first aid say I have aidas from this, and the second aid came and said minus is from that.
So we'll see. He's going to explain it, even though he says don't need. He explains it still. So yeah. Although no, yes. Well, let's just see what he says. You'll see what he says. We'll see what you're on saying. If they both see it together, so it's not going to be good enough if one aid says that in front of me he lent him money, and the other guy says in front of me he admitted that he owed him money, which you could argue is the same thing. I've got two aidim that he owes money. So the first mandama says no, but Rabbi Shimon Kocha says afilu b'zeh hazeh. What is the case of zeh hazeh? Says Rashbam, one person says that on Sunday someone borrowed money from someone else at Moneh, and the other guy says on Monday I saw him. I also saw that he borrowed from him. This is quite astonishing, isn't it? They're both agreeing you can reduce the Eidos to the fact that they both agree that he borrowed, they borrowed a money, right? That's not up for debate. But Tanakama Sova, Amona de Komasid High, Lokomasid High. The first opinion says no. He's testifying about this coin and he's testifying about that one. They're not relevant. They're not second of a on the coin. It's only half an edus. There's one aid on each coin, right? But Tamayim of Parashat Sanhedrin V'Krom Misfara. We can't go into it now. In Sanhedrin, it explains from psukim and logical arguments why they say what they say. But Eli, you see, that's that extent that they're really giving testimony on two separate events. But we can, according to Shub and Kocha, we can join them together to say, well, at the end of the day, you clearly have two Eidim saying you owe this guy money, right? So therefore you have to pay. The Alman Dama says no, they're two. Finally, the Eidos can't be accepted. To be accepted and based in, can't be fulfilled. To be accepted based in, even if they both saw it together, you have to testify together in front of based in. And this is totally something machlokes. It's not B'Shum Kocha says it. It's someone else. And Rabbi Loza, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, the Plukta, the Rav Nachman, Rav Nosson, Rabbanon Pligi. And this machlokus, Rabbi Loza, Rabbi Shimon Gamliel, they are arguing in the same machlokus as Rav Nosson and the Rabbanon here right at the end of the Gemara in this price. Rabbi Nosson and he gets us again with Tanaim and Farish Osman Shab Mikral Misfara. You look in Sanhedrin, explains the background to their machlokus from a posuk and from a logical argument, whatever sort. But the bottom line, the conclusion of our sugya is that Rav Nachman was vindicated. Rav Nachman, who said, we don't worry about Zilus of the Beit Dinah, we don't worry about what it looks like for Beis Din, we do the right thing, anon achtine, anon askinonle, even if that means it's going to have to be a climb down for Beis Din, they're going to have to say, oh, we thought it was there, okay, that's how it is, right? And therefore, that's why he stuck to his guns, and in both these cases, we would say we have to revise the judgment as a result of the new evidence, and what you do with the field then is a problem. You know, like I said, it's called Alam Gvar. You have to work out how each one can beat each other with proofs or whatever they're going to do. But ultimately, that's the Gemara. So Mitzvah Hashem, start the next sugya next time.
Nothing like the Zilus of the Beit Din.